you see, they have actually, because they've opened the bar now, so they actually have the proper drinks. They only have a beer.
Yeah.
One of the biggest success stories in the region, so I want to hear all about this. You have, let's say, 20 minutes for you guys. Please have a seat or not. It's up to you.
No, we're going to sit down.
Get drunk or not, it's up to you. See you in a bit.
Good evening, guys. Glad to be here. We're going to feel like a little bit of a salon. We have our drinks here. We were supposed to be just before you and the cocktails, and then the Johnny Walker guys decided, you know what, fuck it, we're going to open it before. So it's been an hour already. How many of you got cocktails already? Raise your hands. All right, some still within there. Some, I like that. Well done, well done. That's what we want to see. Okay, good. So we're going to sip from that, by the way, along the way. So don't be alarmed. It's all right. It's been controlled. Parents are okay with this. All right, Raj, I'm very happy to be with you. We have a lot to talk about, so we're going to be the next 15, 20 minutes together, and then those guys can actually go where they need to be.
Yes.
Okay?
So guys, thanks a lot for being here at this late hour in time. All of the 500 or 100 something. I'm glad, first of all, to share the stage with a good friend of ours. We're both super passionate about watches.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we share the same passion, and it's good to be in Sofia, Bulgaria again 2 years after we actually met here.
Sure.
So I'm Radesh. I take care of Fitbit in Central and Eastern Europe. I'm based in Bucharest, and I'm happy to see Raph again.
Good. And I'm Raph, Crouan, the CEO of Startup Bootcamp, as Paul just mentioned, and we are looking into all things IoT, and of course, Wearable is one of the key areas that we're looking into investing. So it's fitting that we talk about wearables today. Now, during that talk, we're going to have a couple of interesting points. One of them is to be looking at the future as well. So let's start first. So you've introduced yourself a little bit, but do you want to give us a bit of your early experience in the wearable business? Where did you come from? How did you arrive in Fitbit?
Sure. So 2 years ago, I was standing on this stage talking about Vector Watch, the first smartwatch in the world with a 30 days battery life.
How many knows Vector Watch? How many knows about this brand? 1, 2, of course Dan does. Anybody else? Good, 3? Okay, good.
Okay. So 1st of January 2017, we announced the sale of Vector Watch to Fitbit. It was a super nice exit. All of the team of 35 people in Bucharest, all of them work for Fitbit today. And we opened a huge development center in Bucharest for Fitbit. We're around 160 people today and hiring. So my experience in wearables, so first of all, I started off with Vector Watch. 1.5 years of intense startup life, opening up 22 markets. Traveling from Beirut to Brazil. Did we say Beirut, Paul? From Beirut to Brazil to Central and Eastern Europe to the UK. So we opened about 25 markets in total in 1.5 years. And now, after the exit, I handle only Central and Eastern Europe. So let's say it's a little bit easier being just around CE.
So I want to talk about that a little bit. We talked about this before, right? So from your original Vector experience inside the company to the acquisition of the company to what are you doing now into Fitbit, how different it is, how the different pieces come together. And you mentioned the team moved in, which is great. It's like it's a proper acquisition.
Yes, all of us.
So some of the lessons you got there that you can share with the audience.
I'd like to share like a short story. I was going to Brazil. And I was sitting down with two of the founders of the company, of the co-founders of the company, and they're telling me, Radesh, look, we don't have money to pay for the salaries, like literally. It's like, okay, what do we do? And imagine, so I went to Brazil because I was meeting an important client there, TIM, Telefonica, the Italian telco company, and I was literally walking down the street, calling all of the customers that we have in Europe. And basically in 1 week in Brazil, 2 weeks before the Olympic Games, I managed to get close to $500,000. So we paid for the salaries, did some marketing activities, etc. So it's a completely different monster. It's a completely different animal working for a startup, even though we were more like boutique, niche, 500 euro smartwatch, etc. to Fitbit, which is 2,000 employees, people. We have 4 development centers. Boston, Bucharest, San Francisco, and Minsk. So it's a completely different structure. We were 35, now we're 2,000. So it's a completely different setup. Just imagine, I mean, Fitbit now has like 76 million devices sold. We sold plus minus 50,000.
Right.
So it's a completely different monster animal. The structure of the company is different. The way we do business is different. For example, Fitbit does distributor business. We were also doing direct plus distribution. So it's a completely different animal.
Good. So one of the key things, I mean, one of the things we don't do generally on this stage is product placements. However, I want to talk about the latest product you guys have because it's lean into the conversation about wearables and where we are today and what's the future of it. So I understand the latest is Vector, which is the smartwatch you got released, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
So we just launched Fitbit Versa. It's our newest smartwatch. It's this one that I'm wearing here. We launched it in Bulgaria as well. The first smartwatches that Fitbit made were last year. Ionic, it was like a 300 euro, 50 euro product. It was our first dip into the smartwatch spectrum.
Right.
People know Fitbit for fitness bracelets. So it was our first dip into the smartwatch
how many of you, we're going to go back to a second. How many of you have first of all, a fitness wearable, whatever that is? Raise your hand.
Okay.
About half of the audience, right? Okay. How many of them are Fitbits? A little less, okay. How many of you got smartwatches now? It's about like 10, 12 people. Okay, so that's about the funnel of this, right? So Fitbit was one of the regional sort of first fitness trackers, and it's been extremely popular. So you probably have numbers on this. How many did you sell roughly?
So we have like 76 million devices sold up to date, and this is like in 10 years of experience. So 10 years of sales of products.
And so in terms of the timeline, so Fitbit went into IPO what, 2 years ago? Was it now? About a year and a half ago, sometime, maybe 2 years ago, I think. And you 76 million devices sold over 10 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What's your expectation? Of course, I'm not asking you to make lose protection. What's your expectation? What you're planning on towards the Vector watch? And maybe we want to come back to the difference between a fitness tracker and what you guys are bringing with this, right?
Okay. So if you look at IDC, so the data today of the market today is at 111.3 million units.
Right.
Worldwide, right? If you look at
smartwatches,
wearables in general.
Wearables in general.
If you look at the projection for the next 3 years, it is set to double, meaning to 22 point something. But if you look at where does this growth come from, it comes from the smartwatches. So that's why we decided to build smartwatches. So in the course of the next 3 years, the market for wearables will double, but the actual growth will come from smartwatches. So we decided to focus on the smartwatch side, and we launched Fitbit Versa. We wanted to launch a product that's affordable for everybody. It's a 199 euro product that does health features that people know and love about Fitbit, so that's why they bought our trackers. That looks like a smartwatch, that feels like a smartwatch, but that also has smart notifications. So as you're saying, okay, we're not doing product placement, but because we're selling in so many countries, we have like 78 countries, everybody buys their smartwatch for a different reason. The person next to me might be buying it because they want to lose weight. The other person wants smart notification. The other person wants to track their exercises. The other persons want to write apps. Whatever. So everybody has their own reason. So we wanted to build an all-in-one with an open OS, so everybody can, let's say, choose what's right for them from the product that they buy.
I want to be a bit controversial here for a second.
Shoot.
Ready. Okay. So for the people that know me, I spent 15 years in Apple, between the Valley and Europe. So of course, I'm a big Apple fanatic and lover of the products. And this small company released a product called the Apple Watch. So, as you can see, I'm not wearing any of those, by the way. I'm just still a watch fanatic, but I'm also very intrigued because I've tried it out. How do you compare to an Apple Watch? What is different between, say, your positioning has been traditionally very sort of fitness-oriented and an Apple Watch? How do you differentiate yourself? How do you make sure that the product you're releasing, the Vector, has got a future in that space?
So this is super simple. First of all, there's place for everybody under the sun.
Good numbers, I've seen that. Yeah.
So our product basically connects to iOS, Android, and Windows.
Okay.
So it's not it doesn't connect only to one operating system. Second of all, the battery life is higher, so we have 4+ days battery life for Versa.
That's good.
We have an open OS, okay, people can write apps and so on and so far. We have continuous heart rate, so it doesn't measure your heart rate every 10 minutes. It measures it 24/7,
Okay.
365.
That is if you sleep with your watch, of course.
Yes. That's why we made the watch at 30 grams.
Okay.
Ultra. It's
Very
the same
light.
weight as a fitness bracelet. So the watch comes with 2 straps in the box, so S and L, etc. And it's 199 euros. So it's affordable, good for everybody, a few SKUs, but it's different. It has a different value proposal than other smartwatches in the market. And actually, there is no other smartwatch that today offers all of the features that we have for 199.
Okay.
This is
So now we've established a bit what the Vector is about and the brand.
Yes.
I want to go back
Versa.
a bit,
Yeah.
one step back, and Vesta, and go back to the wearable market in itself. And so
Yes.
where we are today, what people are using it for in general, how they get healthier, what do you see in the market on that one? And then we'll talk a bit about the future after. So
Okay.
to go back to that, so what is traditionally the audience you see using those particular products?
So generally, smartwatches, if you look at IDC data, smartwatches are 60% bought by men, right?
Okay.
Why we made the Versa, how we
You
made
mean the
it,
geek early adopters, basically.
early adopters, geeks,
Right.
etc. And the smartwatches that you can find today on the market are more, let's say, heavier to use. You don't have that user interface that is that friendly, more for tech savvy, etc.,
Right.
etc. Early adopters. Plus, the prices are, let's say, higher. And we said, okay, let's make something simple for the people that don't move a lot, and to encourage both women and men to become more active. Because ladies, for example, don't particularly buy smartwatches. They buy more trackers. So we said, okay, there's a huge opportunity for us in this spectrum that nobody's looking at. So let's try to tap into that market. And to answer your question completely, why are they buying smartwatches or trackers? I'll give you an example from my French friends. So we made surveys, okay, like Net Promoter Score, etc.
Yep.
And we found out that, for example, in France, people buy smart trackers or whatever smartwatches to track their sleep. It's the region where a lot of people le sommeil, where they love their sleep. So that is every region has their own reasons why to buy their smartwatch or smart tracker. For example, in my country, in Romania, a lot of people buy the smartwatch, apart from being trendy and geeky and etc. For notifications. In the UK, for example, people hate notifications.
Yeah, they do.
Right?
It's more about fitness and
Yes,
activity
exactly.
tracking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you go to the UK, people love tracking their sleep, tracking their steps, calories, distance, heart rate, etc.
In California, they do all of the above, right?
Yes.
they love
Yes.
the whole thing, the whole package.
Yes. So there is no simple answer. That's why we're trying to put as many features on the product as well, so people actually choose what is right for them.
So we talk about Fitbit as a brand. We talk about the product itself. We talk about the devices and how they help, people live a healthier life. You got a little bit to say about this, actually? How it helps people being healthier in general?
So Fitbit mission is to make the world a healthier place. Now, at the same time, if 5 years ago or 10 years ago we were talking about bio food or bio wine or something,
Right.
people would look like you on the street like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Now, it's like, let's say it's a convergent trend. So we are on the, let's say we are in a very good moment where people are trying to live more active lives or trying to move more. You see a lot of bio food, bio wine, etc. Also, smoking has been banned from public places, etc., etc. So the founder of Fitbit had a speech when he said, "Okay, running is the new smoking." You see people working out more and more, not working out in the sense of building muscles, but just being more active.
Sure.
So I think we are lucky that today we are in the same. If these products had appeared, I don't know, 15 years ago, probably nobody would care. But today we are in a good cross path. and a good Carrefour.
All right, excellent. I think we have a couple more minutes to talk about now. What do you see in the future for wearables? Because I think it's been, by experience, I mean, we see on average about 1,000 companies every year, and we've seen a lot of them being at the early stage of our scouting experience being very wearable oriented, and we see less and less of those. But we also see different type of wearables, and maybe it's not the sweet spot of Fitbit, but we see wearables in the industrial space, in the B2B space as well. And also one of the keynote that I give from time to time is around the future wearables like ingestibles, things that we don't necessarily call wearables anymore. Where do you see that evolving on your side? And without again giving any secrets about what Fitbit is working on, but where are you at?
So first of all, if we go back 10 years ago or 15 years ago, nobody had a smartphone. Then everybody had a smartphone. Then, okay, smartwatches appeared. People started to wear wearables, trackers, etc. For Fitbit, so last year we launched our first smartwatch. Actually, we launched our first headsets, the Flyer. And now, for example, we're transitioning, we're evolving in the health area. Health meaning the device will still stay on you, but it will be more, let's say, orientated to health, to detection and to prevention. And I'll give you an example. Today I can set my device to say, okay, I want to go to bed at 11. It vibrates. I look, say, okay, I'll go to bed or not. But imagine in 1 year's time, my device, based on the algorithm that we use and based on your consumer behavior or pulse, it will be able to tell you, okay, Raresh, you had a rough day. I see your heart rate is up or down or whatever. It's time for you to go to bed. So it will direct this to you. And I have another example for you, and this is also live now on Versa. We introduced women's health tracking for ladies that track their menstrual cycle via an app like Clue. Right. So today, starting last week, you can track your menstrual cycle and directly put it in the app. And when you go to the doctor, okay, you can show him when it was your last period and etc. Now, for couples that have kids or that want to have kids, imagine that the device, the more you wear it, the more accurate it will become. So it will be able to predict to you when is your most fertile period. Now I know this sounds weird being explained by a guy, but imagine that, okay, for people that are trying to...
doctors that are guys, right?
Yes. For people that are trying to conceive a child, having all of that information and all of that, let's say, traceability to know, you go to the doctor, okay, what happened? Boom, here it is. So the devices we think will become smarter and smarter. And actually now we're working on a project with Dexcom for blood sugar monitoring. I was looking actually at Bulgaria at obesity rate or diabetes rate, as Romania and other countries in CE as well. So the idea is we're working on a pilot with them and the sensor is actually included in Versa. It's not active yet until we get the FDA approval. So basically people that have diabetes don't have to stinge themselves every day. The device will actually tell you, hey, look, it's time to take your insulin. So for us, the future is more into that direction: prevention, health, arrhythmia, sleep apnea, etc. Irregularities that the device will tell you that you have by wearing it more and more.
Good. We're going to close on this because I think it's time for you guys to have a proper cocktail and get out of this room. Yes. But I want to close on one last word, which is, and it goes with what you were saying. We've seen now on the wearable world the lines being blurred a lot between what health used to be, medically controlled, and what Fitbit trackers used to be, which gives you an indication on a personal level. This is beginning blur and more because those trackers are getting more refined and actually more acute in terms of getting the right data. So expect guys to see over the next few years some really medically graded devices being available for everyone, and give the data that the doctors can help you cure, potentially even anticipate. So thank you very much for being here, Raresh. I love our talk together.